Macau holds the promise of luck. This city on the South China Sea has always been an island for soldiers of fortune, for those ready to bet their life and all they own, for those in search of adventure, riches and pleasure. Behind the glittering facade of today lies a city whose history is still very much alive. It began where fireworks still drive out evil spirits, and where fragrant smoke honors the inhabitants' ancestors. In the city's oldest temple, the people of Macau prayed to a goddess who is said to have once miraculously saved the boat of a poor fisherman caught in a storm. Since in former times nearly everyone went to sea, she became Macau's most important protective goddess. Her counsel is still sought in all matters. She is known as Ama, and the temple was built in her honor. The home of the benevolent goddess of the sea was designed in line with Taoist principles, in harmony with nature, with many gates and passages, and with meditative, colorful forms. This port city also owes its name to her. The word Macau is derived from Amagao, the Bay of Ama. Macau was just a small Chinese fishing settlement when, in the 16th century, the Portuguese arrived in their three-masted caravels. They dreamt of making their fortune in China. To gain access to its legendary riches, they needed a trading post. The Portuguese found it in the delta of the Pearl River. China's rulers tolerated the foreigners. After all, they had come not as conquerors, but as traders. They even gave them an exclusive leasehold. Thus, the West's first bridgehead in the Far East was established in Macau. Where today only flowers are discharged, Portuguese ships loaded silk, sandalwood and silver. The trading post was lucrative for the Portuguese and also a boon for Chinese merchants who used the foreigners as middlemen for business with Japan, something they were not allowed to engage in by order of the emperor. Macau is a piece of Portugal in China, a European splash of colour in the Great Middle Kingdom. For nearly 450 years, the former Portuguese maritime empire left numerous traces here. Blue and white azulejo tiles, elegant merchants' villas, and Mediterranean composure. Although swift profits beckoned, business didn't always run smoothly. Portugal's exclusive trade with China was threatened by pirates and European rivals. The Portuguese were experienced at building well-defended forts, yet the cannon at Macau were only fired once. In 1622, at Protestant Dutchmen contesting the trading post. Fortunately, the Chinese rulers of Macau also indicated that they would not approve of any hostile takeover by other Europeans. The Old Town Hall. It was from here that the Portuguese administration, which was autonomous but dependent on Chinese goodwill, determined the city's fortunes. Today, the Portuguese heart of Macau beats around the Town Hall Square. Calçada mosaic paving points the way. The stones for the paving still come from Portugal, but today the craftsmen are Chinese. They lay thousands and thousands of mosaic stones in the city in the pattern of an ocean wave. 8 Chinese and 3 Portuguese newspapers for 480,000 inhabitants. The liberal, cosmopolitan atmosphere is tangible everywhere. a consequence of centuries of East-West exchange. Here in Macau, on the periphery of the Chinese Empire and far away from Portugal, two ways of life have influenced each other with comfortable ease. While in other places radical modernization is taking place, here the colonial charm nurtures the delightful illusion that the world is still in order. The historic Old Town, with stores which, side by side, sell Chinese and European goods, seems both busy and tranquil. Two cultures exist in tandem, merging and uniting, even where cuisine is concerned. Portuguese sausage, next to dried pork from South China. Ginger confectionery dusted with icing sugar, next to Portuguese almond biscuits made by Chinese. Even though the great majority of Macau's inhabitants today speak Chinese, shop signs are still bilingual. Chinese and Portuguese are both official languages here. Located in the south of the city, beyond the blocks of skyscrapers, are the old Portuguese residential districts. Tiny, romantic islands in a modern boomtown. Here you can still experience that Portuguese, indolent, dreaming wistfulness that is not unfamiliar to the Chinese. Saudade. The new Macau is growing rapidly. Covering just 30 square kilometers, it is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. Where skyscrapers now stand, there was once water. Nearly 2/3 of the area of Macau has been wrested from the sea for new apartments, new casinos, and bigger banks and shopping centers. When Portugal wanted to hand back the colony in 1974, China refused to accept it. It wasn't until December 1999 that the Portuguese flag finally disappeared from the skyline. Like neighboring Hong Kong, today Macau has the autonomous status of a special administrative region within China. The city's new hallmarks are the 338-meter-high Macau Tower and bold bridge constructions, which are gradually putting the city's colonial heritage in the shade. Macau is booming. 20 casinos gleam brightly as new palaces of fortune. At one time, religious monuments were the fixed points of the street scene. St. Paul's was famous far and wide. In the 16th century, it was the most splendid church in the Far East. In the adjoining Madre de Deus College, priests learned Chinese and were sent out from here to do missionary work all over Asia. The church was gutted by fire. All that remains today is the magnificent granite facade. Here, Christian symbols blend with Asian motifs. But the Virgin Mary standing on the head of a dragon shows how exchange between Christians and Chinese was meant. Augustinians, Dominicans, Jesuits. All the leading religious orders saw Macau as the gateway to China. The missionaries established orphanages and hospitals, wrote the first Chinese dictionary, and translated the Bible into Chinese. Above all, though, they built churches, more than 60 in the historic Old Town. The biggest was the cathedral, because as early as 1570, Macau became the bishop's seat for the entire Far East. St. Michael's Cemetery, the last resting place of the descendants of the Portuguese seafarers. They lie here, peacefully united with Chinese families who converted to Christianity and had themselves baptized. But attempts to Christianize the local inhabitants weren't too successful. Only about 2% of Macau's Chinese population changed their faith. The majority remained loyal to their old religion, to Taoism, or Buddhism, or to both. This outwardly modest merchant's house is also part of the world's cultural heritage. Lu Cao's family came to Macau from Canton in 1860. They're said to have amassed their legendary fortune by trading in opium with the British. The mansion reveals hardly any European influences. It was designed in line with the strict tenets of the feng shui doctrine. Openings allow the tropical air to circulate and the spirits to soar freely. Against the backdrop of carved landscape reliefs, life took place far away from the noise and dirt of the street. The merchants lived in luxury. Yet the city's decline had long since set in as Hong Kong outstripped Macau as a port. In 1850, with overseas trade on a shaky footing, Macau legalized games of chance. The Street of Happiness, where beautiful girls once cheered up sad seafarers, was now visited by gamblers. Even the very first casino financed 1/3 of the city's budget. In the Chinese motherland, gambling is strictly forbidden. And only in Macau did fortune-telling and palmistry remain part of everyday culture. Fortune means harmony, growth and change. What the future holds in Macau is read from people's palms by clairvoyants. But where destiny is concerned, the past is just as meaningful as the future. Lisbon's world empire crumbled long ago. Yet the first lighthouse in Asia still casts its light, bathing the city of fortune in the wonderful glow of nostalgia.
Yeah.